Our final speaker this afternoon is Shelley Papenfuse from Toledo.
I think I can hold it. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay. I have a very soft voice, so I always like to make sure. My name is Shelley Papenfuse, and I live in Toledo, Ohio, and I am a disability rights advocate. I have worked for the Ability Center for the last 20 years. And I also am the chair of the Ohio Homestead Task Force. But there's an interesting story. Actually, it's a life story. When I was 14 months old, I became very ill. And I ran a bunch of real high fevers. And no one knew what was wrong with me. No doctor could make a diagnosis. And between my 14 months of age to 3.5 years old, my condition got progressively worse. And as a fever came, a set of joints became inflamed. So a pair of knees became infected, my ankles became infected, and finally, at the Children's Hospital here in Columbus, a diagnosis was made of juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And this would have been back in 1963. And in 1963, children with severe disabilities, such as mine, were informed, the parents were informed that they weren't going to be able to take care of me. And the doctor here in Columbus suggested that I be placed in a home for children with disabilities. And unfortunately, I had a very young mother. She was 19 at the time, 20, I think. And she was going to take the doctor's advice and look for a placement for me. But my grandmother had encouraged my mom not to do that. And they kind of made a partnership and said, well, if you finish school and get a job, I'll take care of Shelley. So I ended up staying at home with my grandparents, and I was raised by them. And what happened was a very, very close relationship with my grandparents. And they encouraged me to continue to go to school. I graduated high school. I went to college. I graduated with a degree in social work. And I got my first job. Believe it or not, I wanted to help families and children. And my first position was working for Family Services of Northwest Ohio as a family counselor. And then it was shortly after that that the Ability Center called and said, we'd love you to come and work for us. So, but what happened though was, as with any job, and any 9-to-5 job, you know that you have to get up. You have to get up at a certain time, and you have to commute to work at a certain time. So a series of challenges or barriers, I like to call them barriers, other people like to call them challenges, but to me they were real barriers. The barrier was I needed somebody that could get to my home at 6 o'clock in the morning to help me get ready for work. And I needed public transportation to get to work. Well, 20 years ago, what do you think there was any program in place that could help me do that? No, there wasn't. So once again, Grandma said, I will be at your house every day and I will help you get ready for work. And she did. She did. Every day. She helped me get dressed, get groomed, fix my hair, helped me get breakfast. And then off to work I went. Again, this continued. And then one year, when she turned 85, she called me up and she said, you know, you're going to have to find somebody, Shelley, because this is just getting very, very hard for me to help you do this. So that's when I started relying on friends and people that I knew, people that I was close with. But unfortunately, friends have their own schedules, and friends have their own jobs and their own commitments that they have to fulfill. So it started to get real spotty in terms of the reliability, in terms of who could get there by 6 and who could get there every day by 6. So I found myself finding substitute, a backup after the backup after the backups. And believe me, it became a scheduling nightmare because things happen to people. Life happens to people. One person's car broke down, the other person couldn't find a babysitter for their kid, or the other person was just plain sick. But in the meantime, who always filled that hole when the person called off? My grandmother. So, as much as I hate to say this, I had this real strong dependency on her help. And believe it or not, she continued to be that backup person until 2008, when my grandfather became very, very ill, and he passed away. And shortly after he passed away, she became very, very ill. So it was just, things just started to crumble very quickly. And what really kind of put the icing on the cake was in May of 2009, I was in a horrible paratransit bus accident, leaving work. And the driver had made a sudden stop to avoid hitting a car. And I was catapulted from the back of the bus out of my wheelchair and landed in the stairwell of the bus. So I ended up in the hospital for a month in Toledo. And it was then, I could honestly say that I had no other options, that the bottom fell out for me. My grandfather had passed away. My grandmother was just fragile. She, at the time, was 89. And I really didn't have any options. So, being a disability rights advocate, I got on the phone right from the hospital bed and started calling all the social service agencies. And I said, look, I already know that there's a waiting list for the Ohio Home Care Waiver. But this is a real emergency. I have a full-time job. I am gainfully employed. And my grandmother helped me lots of times as a substitute. But I'm at a place in my life where I need more help than just friends and substitute and family. I need a real solid care plan. So I did apply very quickly for Medicaid buy-in because I'm a worker with a disability. And it was through Medicaid buy-in that I was eligible to receive services through the Ohio Home Care Waiver. And it took a long time. It was a long recovery from my injuries and just trying to get back on my feet, really, or back on my wheels. And so today, I can honestly tell you that I feel very secure because I actually have solid assistance. I have real people that come at real times and don't call off. And it's a combination of assistance through home care agencies and independent providers. But this would not have been possible without a waiver like this. So I want to say that there are many people behind me waiting to get help through the Ohio Home Care Waiver. And I feel bad because maybe I took precedence because I was in the hospital or because it was an emergency situation. I hope that I didn't take someone's place. But I just wanted to share with you how far we've come in this state in understanding home and community-based services and what a very vital role they play. And I hope that we continue to balance how we provide long-term care in Ohio. Thank you.